Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
Fine. Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Oisak Tanko and it's time to evolve. Yay! In this video, I'll be talking about the steps involved in getting an off-campus accommodation, the documents you need to submit when applying for an off-campus accommodation, the tips and tricks you need to have at the tip of your fingers when applying for an off-campus accommodation. How do I get an off-campus accommodation? First of all, search online. Google is your friend. Google it. Check in for accommodation in so area and you will see options. If you are like confused on where to go, we have apartment.com, rent for college, for rent, and all those sites. You can also get apartment options there. Secondly, you can ask from people who are in the school. If you know anybody in the school, you can ask them, oh, I'm looking for an apartment off campus. Do you have an idea? Do you have any landlord's number? Always ask questions from people that are where you want to be. And then the third thing I recommend is to ask your international student service or student life or even associations and group on campus. Check your school website if you're not sure how to get across to them. I believe they'll provide you with answers. These are people that are already staying at the environment you want to be part of, so they know the areas that they'll recommend to you. They know the areas that students live in the most and the areas they would maybe tell you to avoid. So have that at the back of your mind. These are the things you need to do when looking for an off-campus accommodation. After seeing an apartment you like, the next thing you need to do is to contact the landlord or the leasing agent or rental agent. Contact them and they'll definitely send you a form or a link to apply for the house. So when they send you the application or the link, you have to fill in that application, fill in your details and then all other information they will ask you. After filling the form, please visit that apartment. You need to inspect that apartment. Make sure the apartment is what you like. You should not go and pay for what I ordered versus what I got, because sometimes you can see picture of heaven on earth online and then when you come to that place, hey, please make sure you inspect that apartment. Make sure it is what you like. You cannot afford to stay in a place you do not like. After inspecting the apartment and this is what you like, the next thing you need to do is sign the lease. Before you sign the lease, please read the terms of the contract. Read everything line by line. Make sure you read in between lines. Anything you do not understand on the list, ask your landlord. Ask them questions. And if anything on the list doesn't settle well with you, and if the landlord is not willing to change it to something, please, you cannot afford to be dragging up and down with your landlord. Read the contract, read the list, read in between lines before signing it. And when you sign it, you're bound by that. Hey, you signed the lease, congratulations. The next thing you need to do is to move into the apartment. Let your landlord know when you intend to move in. That moving date you put on the application, that is the date you're moving in. When applying for off-campus housing as an international student in the USA, these are the documents you would need to provide to your landlord or the leasing agent. Number one, your identity card or passport. You need to provide that to the landlord. The second thing you need to provide is your admission letter. Third thing, your I-20. Some landlords, if you provide them an I-20, they may not need the admission letter, while others would ask you for an admission letter and I-20. So it all varies and it's depending on the landlord. The next document you would need to provide is your proof of funds. The landlord would need to know if you can afford to live in that apartment. That's why you need to provide a proof of fund. So you either provide your scholarship letter, your approval of loans if you've gotten loan, your bank statement, employment letter, just any document that shows that money is coming in. So we'll be talking about accommodation now. These are the tips you have to keep at the back of your mind about getting accommodation in the United States of America as an international student. The first thing is, do not be in a rush. If you rush to get into an apartment, I promise you, you will rush to want to get out, because you are bound by a lease. You cannot leave before your lease expires. Trust me, living in America as an international student alone has its own problem. You do not want to add accommodation issues to that. Beware of scammers. Even in this America, there are scammers. Again, when you see an accommodation online, try to visit the place. If you can't visit the place, if you know someone who is in school or who is in that neighborhood, ask the person if the person can help you check the place. You don't want someone to scam you of that money that only you know how you got it. So please beware of scammers. Another tip which I love so much is always ask questions from people who are where you want to be, from people that are already in that school. Ask them questions about the neighborhood. Ask them questions. Ask. Another tip is check for online reviews about that apartment you are interested in. Some of these apartments, if you check their reviews, you will know that you don't want to be in for that bargain. So check the reviews. I recommend that. I'd also recommend you check the distance between the apartment you're interested in and your school. You don't want to be living in an apartment that is 12 hours away from your school. Another thing is, you should check for how accessible public transports are from that apartment. You don't want to be staying in an apartment whereby you have to walk for 1 hour before you get transportation. So check how accessible these apartments are to bus stops and public transport system. Another thing is, you have to check if your apartment is close to social amenities like malls, hospitals, and religious places of worship, or just anything you're interested in. You don't want to spend 75 hours from your apartment to, let me say, Walmart or Dollar General. You should be able to just take a walk. Do you know you can get roommates from your school social media groups? So if you're interested in having a roommate, you could just write it on the social media groups or any other platform that students connect in your school. Let them know that, hey, I'm looking for roommates, and you can get a roommate from there. You do not want to add roommate wahala, that is roommate problem, to your new found environment and your new lifestyle. So please get to know things about your new roommate if you guys can stay together. I know you cannot get to know a person in a day or two, and even in a year you might not totally get to know a person, but at least get an idea of the kind of person you are having the intentions of staying with. Another thing about roommates is, most times one of you must learn to compromise. So if you decide to get a roommate, you should have that at the back of your mind, that at some point, in some cases, I would have to compromise. Another thing I would like you to know about off-campus accommodation is, it can either be furnished or not furnished. So you need to ask your landlord or the people that are managing the apartment, hey, if it is furnished, what are the furnitures in the apartment? Sometimes it might just be appliances like your cooker, your fridge, the microwave, the dishwasher, and yeah, and that's all. And they would say, oh, it's fully furnished. So you need to ask them. Make sure you visit the apartment before signing the lease, and when you're given the lease, read that carefully, and if you have any questions or concerns, let the apartment management know, or your landlord, let them know. Most times the lease has the deadline for your rental payment, but if it is not included on the lease, ask your apartment management or your landlord. Confirm from them when is the deadline for rental payment and what is the mode, or what are the modes of making this payment. Some of them can collect transfer, some of them can accept Zelle, while some of them would ask you for money order and other form of payment. Most times the apartment management or the landlord would let you know that okay, the utilities are not included in the rent, or they will tell you it is partially included or it is included also. So ask, so that you would be very clear. Please ask the apartment managers or your landlord about your parking space. That is very important. Even if you don't have a car at the moment, you might have plans of having a car, or you just need to know that this space is allocated to me in case you have friends who have cars that come to visit you. Parking space can be a cause for concern. So ask, okay, am I entitled to parking space? How many parking space would be allocated to your apartment? Ask these questions. So if you find this video helpful, please like, comment, subscribe. When you like, when you comment, and when you subscribe, YouTube would recommend this video and the other videos to other people who would need this kind of information. Thank you very much for liking. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for commenting. Thank you, because we will evolve together.